And when you came up with this idea of taking this vintage truck on this vintage highway across America, what was the reaction of your friends and
My
family?
sister said she would divorce me. I'm not sure that's an actual thing people can do. But I said, I'm going to try it. She goes, you're insane. And but I'm going to do it anyway.
Hi, friend. It's Daryn. Welcome to Call Me Friend, powered by Miss Lou's Cabin, an Airbnb property on a remote section of the Georgia coast. This is the podcast where I call one of my friends and you get one incredible story. I do have to say that you actually might not want to listen to today's episode. Now, I'm warning you about this. If you listen, you are taking a risk. What is at risk and what is at stake? I'm going to be calling a man named Don Crost. And it's possible he is going to inspire you. Well, you know that idea that you might be having and percolating, and you might be thinking about doing something, but people have been telling you that you're nuts? This conversation with Don just might send you over the edge and might send you out there, and you're going to go for it. So only continue listening if you're willing to take that chance. First, though, let's go into my Wayback Machine for a little story. This goes back to my very first TV news job ever in Santa Barbara, California, market size 113. Now, by that, let me explain. They rank all the size of markets in America. So New York is number 1, obviously, LA number 2. I think Chicago's number 3. This, for my very first TV job, was market 113th, the 113th biggest, smallest market in America. Now, it isn't a very sad story because, as I mentioned, it was in Santa Barbara, which happens to be one of the most beautiful places, if not in America, in the world. Incredible with the Pacific Ocean, the San Ynez Mountains. It is absolutely glorious. And somehow, for my first TV news job ever, I landed in Santa Barbara as the weekend anchor. These are two things that you just don't get to do out of the box. So I lucked out. But I have this co-anchor, this guy named Paul. For the record, we didn't get along. We somehow just always had this kind of friction between us. And I couldn't figure it out because other people liked him and other people liked me. Like, why couldn't we get along? But I wasn't just the weekend anchor. I also had to produce, and the assignment editor. I was kind of in charge on the weekends. What I came to find out many years later, the news director, our boss, was kind of whispering in both of our ears. In my ear, he said, now, don't you forget, you are not just the anchor, you are the producer and you're the assignment editor. You need to show him who's in charge. And in Paul's ear, he said, what are you going to do? Let a younger woman tell you what to do? You have to show her that you're boss. So no wonder we never got along. Turns out, though, this wasn't the end of our possibility of being friends, because many years later, we both ended up at CNN. He was in the LA bureau as a correspondent and a field producer, and I was anchoring out of Atlanta. And we reconnected, and we've done really nothing but cheer each other on since. So it's a friendship with a second chance. I'm wondering if you've ever had one of those, somebody who you started off on the wrong foot. Maybe you didn't understand what was happening behind the scenes, but luckily you got a chance to come back around and be friends, like Paul and I have been able to do. So here we are at another round. I obviously left CNN many years ago. Paul left a couple years ago, and he now works for this organization called ShelterBox, which is the best organization doing the most amount of good around the world that you've never heard of. Why is that? Well, I'm going to find out in a little bit. But meanwhile, Paul says he has something he needs to tell me.
Hey, Daryn, or Dak, that's her initials. We used to call her that in the newsroom. That was a walk-in closet of a place. You have got to meet somebody, a friend of mine. Think about this image. He's in a 1953 blue Chevy truck driving down Route 66 through all the landmark cities and going through St. Louis and down through Albuquerque and Tucumcari and Kingman. And he's doing this to help people around the planet who have lost everything. And he's making quite an impact. And he's a character. As they would say in broadcast journalism, he's a walking soundbite. Daryn, meet my friend, Don Crost.
If Paul says I need to call Don, it's time to call Don. This episode is powered by Miss Lou's Cabin, an Airbnb property on a remote section of the Georgia coast. Do you ever go to a beautiful resort and you long to know what this place looked like before they paved paradise and put up all those parking lots? Well, here's your chance. Miss Lou's Cabin sits on 7 private acres on a tidal saltwater marsh about 15 minutes south of Savannah, Georgia. It is a place so quiet that you don't even hear road noise. Instead, you're going to hear pink spoonbills, wild dolphins feeding off your private dock. I just saw some this morning. The breeze whistling through the Spanish moss that hangs from countless oak trees all around the property. And then there's this porch overlooking the marsh that is absolutely a perfect place to hang with your family and friends, read a zillion books, catch the sunrise, drink a great cup of coffee, all while you stay in a restored log cabin that has all the comforts and amenities of a beautiful home. Miss Lou's Cabin, check it out in the link below in our show notes, or simply Google Miss Lou's Cabin and you'll find this piece of paradise. Well, hey, Don, thanks for taking my call.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really welcome this opportunity.
I understand that you are wrapping up quite the road trip.
Yes, we are. I have driven Route 66 from Chicago, specifically Evanston, Illinois, where Rotary International headquarters are, and also my hometown, and driven all the way out here. I am at the ShelterBox USA headquarters in Santa Barbara. I know that's not on Route 66. I'm not actually lost. I came here deliberately.
We're not going to split hairs, and we'll get to ShelterBox in a minute. Sure. This wasn't just any road trip, though, and you didn't just drive in just any car. You didn't just hop in a minivan and hit the road. Tell me about your vehicle.
My vehicle is a vintage 1953 Chevy pickup truck. Not meant ever to be a road car. It was mostly driven around on farms. It's been modified for modern driving, but it's a vintage car and it rattles and shakes.
But there's modern driving, Don, and then there's what you did in driving across most of America, which I think it was never, ever intended for.
Not at all. Not at all.
So let's put this all together, how you go on this big road trip in this old, is it insulting to call it a jalopy? Is that fair?
I wouldn't call it a jalopy.
Okay.
It's a couple steps above jalopy.
But put this all together. Why did you decide to do this? What's the thinking?
My thinking was this. I've been involved with ShelterBox for quite a long time, probably since the early 2000s when ShelterBox was young. This is the 25th anniversary of ShelterBox. I'm driving 2,500 miles in 2025. I've set a goal of $25,000. But my main reason for doing this is I feel that after 3 Nobel Peace Prize nominations, ShelterBox should be more well known than it is. And I wanted to draw attention to ShelterBox. I'd done an earlier trip to try and do the same thing. And this is sort of the tail end of this idea to create some recognition for ShelterBox. I did a trip up Route 41 from Florida to Rotary headquarters in Evanston, Illinois, about 2.5 years ago. But I want to raise more awareness so that we are as well known and first thought of, just like people think of the Red Cross or CARE or Doctors Without Borders.
Because most people go ShelterBox, what's a ShelterBox? They don't know what that is.
Okay, a ShelterBox, and there's going to be some qualifications here because we're sort of moving away from its original concept of literally a box. And it was a large green box. It would contain a tent, cooking supplies, maybe mosquito nets, depending on the particular kind of conflict or disaster zone where it may be sent to. It'll have children's activity books, solar lights, anything to get families back together again and create at least an initial temporary infrastructure so the other charities can work better. It keeps families together, it gives them dignity, and it gives them privacy.
So basically, disaster happens and ShelterBox moves in to be one of those first responders.
Exactly. And my goal here is when people see this, when they see people suffering, when they turn on their TV and they see these disasters and people wandering around where their community used to be, children, parents really trying to put their lives back together. And I look at it and go, what can I do about this? I feel helpless. ShelterBox literally checks all the boxes for that.
So that's great for what the average person can do. I want you to take me back to when the genesis of this trip is coming together, and I'm going to be like your friends and family. So pitch me the idea of what you're planning to do before this all even happened.
Okay. Well, I think a good example is my family. My sister, who has known that I've been doing this for so long, when I said to her, I'm going to do this for ShelterBox, and she said to me, well, what is ShelterBox? Just like you asked.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, look, I'm going to try to raise recognition for ShelterBox and some money. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try this with this vintage truck on this vintage highway. Route 66 is going to be 100 years old next year. And I thought, I'm going to just take a shot at driving a vintage vehicle on the highway and just challenge myself and challenge the truck and see what we can do to create some awareness here.
And when you came up with this idea of taking this vintage truck on this vintage highway across America, what was the reaction of your friends and family?
My sister said she would divorce me. I'm not sure that's an actual thing people can do. But I said, I'm going to try it. She goes, you're insane. And but I'm going to do it anyway.
And was she so wrong? Don, it's a little crazy.
It is a little crazy. And so the truck is a little over 70 years old. So am I. And so is my partner who came along with me. Something was bound to break on one of us.
What could possibly go wrong, Don, with this formula of an over 7-year-old vehicle, over 7-year-old driver and partner on a road that's going to be 100 years old? I mean,
what could
it sounds like
possibly go wrong?
Exactly. So what did go wrong? Because you're here, so you made it. So that's good.
I made it. And weirdly, the truck is fine. My travel partner broke a rib, but she stuck it out to come along on this journey. But yeah, we were really quite lucky. The technology in my truck is a 1979 engine, but it's still good and it still works. And we made it.
You made it. You made it. So did you have to use like bubblegum and Band-Aids along the way?
Interesting that
get creative?
Interesting that you mentioned that. So somewhere along the way, when I was getting gas one day, I just forgot to put the gas cap back on the gas tank, which, by the way, is just a big tank full of gasoline that sits right behind the driver's seat. So it's, a little flammable and a little unsafe. The only safety features I have are 2 seatbelts. An airbag,
which I bet just go over your lap, right? No shoulder harness.
We do have shoulder belts. We're
okay.
It's that modern. The closest thing we had to an airbag is a few bags of chips, but otherwise there was no other safety feature in the car. So I was getting gas, and I took off, forgot to put the gas cap back on, and now I'm driving without a gas cap with this gas tank full. I did happen to have some zip ties and a water bottle that I used to create a temporary gas cap, and then magically found an auto parts store on Old Route 66 in Tucumcari, New Mexico. They just happened to have what I was looking for. Maybe they have a lot of old trucks there, but so I got a new gas cap for that. Then, and I don't know how old your listeners are, but there's on the engine, there's a carburetor, which sits inside an air filter, and a cover goes on top of that. Well, when I checked the carburetor, I obviously didn't tighten the screw tight enough to hold down the cover, and I had to make a new one out of a mineral water bottle cap using a Swiss Army knife, and that's still holding.
You made your own carburetor.
I didn't make a carburetor. No, I just made a cover. I just made a nut for the cover on the carburetor. Making my own carburetor.
Let's not give you too much credit.
Yeah, that's way too much credit. Now, the truck rattles a lot when you drive along, and the window cranks fell off on either door at different times, and I had to refit those back on. But, we managed to get that to work.
Well, these are all brilliant hacks along the way.
It's kind of MacGyver-ish.
Yeah. Again, people might not even get that reference. Who knows? But sorry. I do. Yeah. I do. How did it feel to be doing this, to be doing something for good in the world?
That was the most amazing part because this really is not about me, and it's not really about the truck. But we would stop at a rest stop, for example, and a couple of times this happened where somebody came up and just gave us $5. They saw that on the side of the truck there's a sign that says this is a 2,500-mile fundraiser. They didn't even know what ShelterBox is, and but they just gave me a contribution, and then they would ask, "Well, what is ShelterBox?" And I got to explain it, and we have a little QR code people can shoot on the truck. But the generosity and the curiosity of people on this journey, it was just really moving. One man in Kingman, Arizona, came up to us in a diner. And a diner on Route 66 in Kingman, Arizona is almost a trope. But this man
That's
came up
true.
and gave me $60 for a shelter box, just right out of his pocket, didn't have any idea what it was. So I followed him back out to his car to give him a brochure about ShelterBox. And this is somebody who looked pretty much like he lives off the grid.
Mm.
The car was more beat up than my car. And it was just wonderful and moving to see people do this. That's all really meaningful. And the little truck starts conversations just by itself if it didn't have any signs on it. And this was just really a wonderful opportunity to meet really wonderful, giving people along the way.
How is the truck and how are you getting back to Evanston, Illinois?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Um, I will be flying back. I'm going to go visit some friends out here in California, and I will
Mm-hmm.
fly back. And I'm going to sell the truck out here. And if there's any money left
Oh,
over from the sale of the truck, that money is going to go to ShelterBox.
I love that. That little ties a little bow on the story. So here's the thing, Don. This is I'm going to call it a dangerous conversation. And you are a very dangerous man because there is somebody out there who is listening, who's had these bubbles of ideas of something they could go do that their friends and family are telling them they're crazy. What would you say to that person?
Oh, just do it. Um, I have, at my age, I've lost a number of good friends. And I'm very lucky to be healthy enough to do this. And I don't want to have any regrets. I don't want to have had that idea sitting up in bed. What if I did this and not do anything about it? So you hear this all the time in motivational speeches, but it is just a just do it thing. And when I originally proposed this to ShelterBox, I thought, okay, I'll just mention this and see what they say. And I thought for sure they were going to say, that's crazy. Don't do that. But they said immediately, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And now I'm
Bring it.
committed.
Bring it. That is
Yeah.
great. And no regrets. And what do you think your sister, have you talked to your sister since you've arrived
She's
safely?
actually, yes, several times. She's actually come around and said, I'm really proud of you, which is something that she
Oh,
has never said in her entire life. So it was nice. And
a
I'm
great
doing this too.
payment.
I've got grandkids who are very socially conscious, even though they're 12 and 9. And
Hmm.
I want them to be proud of me, but I also want them to know how far they can go in life to make a difference.
Well, you're definitely walking the walk and driving the drive, I have to say.
Thank you.
Everyone, Don, everyone on this podcast, I like to ask a couple questions. And so I'd like to get your take on this. First of all, this is a podcast based on friendship, celebrating doing good.
Oh, wonderful.
So can you think of a friend that made a difference in your life or a friend that you would really want me or the world to know about?
You know, I have thought about this, and
Hmm.
I'd have to say it is my travel partner, Bonnie Johnson from Kansas City. I picked her up on the way down. I know, again, Kansas City's not on Route 66, but I stopped there to get her. She is the most positive person I have ever met. I can't tell you I'm the most positive person, but she has been so encouraging. She always sees the good in everything, almost to a fault. And so she's been very encouraging through this entire process. So she's a friend I would want people to meet. And anywhere we go in the world, and we travel quite a bit, they know her. This is literally true. They'll know her for 5 or 10 minutes and say, "Oh, you must come and stay with us." And it doesn't matter where in the world it would be. That's their reaction to her. Recently at a Rotary convention, we met somebody while we were having coffee. And literally in 10 minutes, they invited us to come and stay in Kuala Lumpur. So she's a person that I would recommend.
Well, KL, here you come, and a shout out to Bonnie. And lest this get too syrupy and thick and too icky sweet, I always like to end on a kind of superficial note, asking a friend, because you and I are now friends.
We are.
What is the thing that you are recommending to friends? It can be a book, a movie, a place, a food, a restaurant. What's the thing you're telling people about?
I would recommend laughter. One of my partners when I was at Second City in Chicago many, many years ago is a playwright. He's just finished a play that's been performed in Chicago, and I hope it gets some play either in New York or come out here in California, which is called Molly Berg, First Woman of Television. And it is so timely about what's going on in the world and in media. And this was during the McCarthy era that they talk about this. I hope this play, gets something because it really is brilliant.
I love it. And we can have links to both of that and also to ShelterBox, of course, in the show notes of this episode.
Okay.
I have a feeling you're not.
James Sherman or Jim Sherman is the playwright.
Jim Sherman, very good. And I have a feeling you're not done. What's next up for you besides visiting friends?
Somebody insanely recommended that I drive I-5 up to Seattle. I hope I sell the truck before then, because otherwise I might feel compelled to do it.
I think so. And I've driven I-5. That's not going to be your beautiful drive, but I'm sure you would meet amazing people along the way, because that's just who you are, and spreading the word about ShelterBox as you go. Don, thank you for taking my call. Safe travels back to Evanston.
Thank you. And thank you for being my new friend on your podcast.
Yeah. Thank you, friend.
Okay.
Well, that Don is certainly something else. And of course, we'll have a link to ShelterBox in the show notes. But now, after all that, I feel like I need to call Paul back. So let's call Paul. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Dak, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for the suggestion. I just finished talking to Don, and as you promised, quite the character and quite an inspiring guy.
Absolutely. What an adventure he was on. I want to add one thing. Bonnie cracked a rib or ribs as she fell in Tulsa, and she continued this odyssey down Route 66. Very brave person. So Don had relayed to you that there were some things that indeed got broken along the way. But
thank you for
by
that
his
follow-up. Yes, thanks for that follow-up. I got distracted. I was like, wait, broken rib, how'd that happen? But now we have the scoop on Bonnie and the broken rib. She goes on to continue the ride, and she's going to be okay, because there's, I guess, not much you can do with a broken rib, right?
Not at all.
Yeah. Except get back in the truck and keep on riding.
As they did, 2,500 miles, Illinois to California.
Incredible. And they're still talking. And still talking. Hey, I want to do the newsy part of this. Of all the times to be doing these calls, we set this up a couple weeks ago. But now you and I are talking just a day or two after Hurricane Melissa slammed into Jamaica and the Bahamas. Is ShelterBox doing something there?
100%. We're responding. And just for a little nuance here, what ShelterBox does, which is different from some disaster relief firms, we don't just dump off a bunch of supplies and then you pick them out. Assessment is really important. And we've been in the Caribbean many times during hurricanes, and we had a very interesting blueprint for this last year when Grenada, which didn't make a lot of news, but two islands there, Carriacou and Petit Martinique, suffered 90% structural damage. And so when the assessment comes around, we look at what do you need? You tell us. So by contrast, in Ukraine, they desperately wanted thermal blankets. They were cold. They were frigid. We know that in hurricanes, they're going to need shelter of all sorts, including shelter repair kits. Sometimes parts of a house are still standing, so the tent's not as needed. But something that's definitely needed after hurricanes is mosquito nets. you can imagine, Daryn, and you know this from your reporting, all the
Mhm.
standing water is left by the rain. So the hurricane passes through, but the crisis is not over. And they are so fearful of all those mosquito-borne illnesses. As you know, the standing water is a breeding ground, and right off the top, malaria and dengue fever risk, and they don't call it bone break fever, dengue, for nothing. I mean, apparently it is painful beyond belief. So we're going to be sure to get mosquito nets to those people in Jamaica and a lot of other vital supplies.
That's phenomenal. And thank you so much for making time for all this, because I know you're in not only in Don mode, but you're in full ShelterBox mode. And I even talked to you and said, do we need to cancel? And you said, nope, I'm taking your call. So I appreciate that. I am so proud of this personal pivot that you've gone from CNN and hard news, and you and I know that life all too well, to this. I mean, how does this happen? This position of meaning and purpose and, well, not news. I mean, it is news, but the good side, doing
Well,
good.
let's be clear. I wouldn't have gone on and got into a communications role for, let's say, the Acme Toy Company of Greater Sandusky, Ohio. Not that it exists, but that wouldn't have been a fit for me. But in my CNN years, I had covered ShelterBox a lot. And the reason why I often wanted to get to ShelterBox to get clarity on an international disaster is you and I both absolutely, so we're so old school. We despise the so-and-so said that so-and-so said that so-and-so said reporting. And this did happen. I remember clearly a day I said, go to Carrie Murray, the president of ShelterBox. She's on the Ukraine-Poland border. If we want context as to what these refugees from Ukraine are actually doing now, let's go to ShelterBox. And then, of course, Carrie pops up on Anderson Cooper and tells the story well. And forgive me if you also interviewed Carrie somewhere in your CNN career. But it was a natural fit for me to transition and take the knowledge that I knew about ShelterBox to get into the comms role. And it is like breaking news, but the pleasant and totally, I'm not trying to get all woo on you, but cosmic side effect is
I
we're
love the woo
doing
woo. Bring
we're
it, bring
doing
it.
good for people around the world. So it just
Mhm.
was such a symbiotic relationship and natural transition for me, and I enjoy it. And it's hectic at times, but as you know this so well, it's a little bit less of a sleep deprivation experiment than broadcast journalism, which many of you may or may not know can be an utter insane asylum of a lot of people with a lot of energy.
That is a very good assessment of that. And I explained to people that we started out as little babies at KUIT, Key News, Channel 3,
Yes.
in Santa Barbara. And then you spend these decades and decades in news. And we all know people like this who are in it, they're hanging on, and it ends. Like, you hang on to the bitter end, and either you're let go, like I was, or you decide to go. Like, but there is life after TV news. There is life after that thing that you've poured your whole life into.
Well, I'd say that's 100%, but also, I mean, it's important that everybody is open-minded and thinks about what the skill set that they've developed
Yeah.
could mean to somebody else. And in broadcast journalism, you have to think very quick on your feet. You often find yourself ad-libbing. You should be a very good note taker. You should be extremely conscientious. You should have the ability to distill a lot of information very quickly and then push that out. And for anybody who is, and I've had so many people DM me, how did you do this triple backflip to ShelterBox from CNN? And I think, again, it's just think through how your skill set could be parlayed to help some other organization. And
Yeah.
that's the key to it all, is don't be shut down or say, oh my gosh, if I don't land that job at Market 77 in Anywheresville, USA, my life is over. It's not. In
It
fact,
is
it'll
not.
open
It
you
goes
up to more
on.
hedonistic pursuits, such as travel. And going as I did right after being laid off, I saw my cousins and I saw Jack Johnson, Simply Red, and Bruce Springsteen about 20 miles from their house in Belgium. So there's a lot of other things to experience in life, and you'll probably be glad that you're sort of off the broadcast news or any news hamster wheel.
It's not always received well, but when I find out someone's been let go, I usually say congratulations, because
I would agree with
you've
that
been let go.
100%.
You've been let go. I mean, not to knock our experience in small market television at network, but there is life after. And I'm so pleased and proud of what you're doing. And I'm just so glad that we're still friends and that I get to cheer you on.
Well, that's very nice of you to say, and me too. And obviously, you'll love this scenario. We had a walk-in closet of a newsroom at the ABC affiliate in Santa Barbara. And in another era, we didn't get to computers very quickly. Others had, but we would be pounding away on these electric typewriters, and there
It's
was like the
true.
staccato sound of a million woodpeckers, it seemed. And here we are now, decades later. Daryn and I always love to talk about stories, humanity, get away from the drudgery of, tough stories at times, city council meetings, maybe a ghastly murder, and always spin some sort of tale that might leave somebody in a better mood for that day.
Well, it's a full circle for you. You're back in your hometown of Santa Barbara, and go save the world. Go do it. Really proud
Thanks,
of you.
Daryn.
Thank you, friend. Thank
Proud of
you.
you too. Bye, friend.
Bye. So many things to think about after both those calls. I'm wondering if I've done it. Have these guys kind of pushed you over the side to go do that thing, to go do good in the world, to go after that idea that other people were telling you, well, you're nuts. I don't think you are. I think you should go for it. And I would love to hear from you about so many things. So let me do the list. I would love to hear if you have an idea to go do good in the world and what you're planning on doing. I would love to hear if you have a friend who you got a second chance at friendship at after the start wasn't so great. And I'd love to hear if you have a friend that you think that I need to call. I have a phone number where you can do all this. You can text me, you can call me, leave a message, any of it. The number is 912-766-0446. Call any time of day. Between you and me, I don't hear it ring. So just call anytime and let me know all those things that are going on with you. So you know what you need to do. It's time to call a friend. You can call me, call that long lost friend. Just make the call, make the text and connect because it is all about our friendship. And before I let you go, a little note about doing good in the world. There's so many ways you can do it. Of course, we have the link to ShelterBox, and I really encourage you to look up that organization and support other organizations that are helping people who need it. And there's so much need in the world right now. One tiny little thing that you can do that would help me and then help me help them. If you could like, subscribe, share, talk about it, post on social media, anything about this podcast, it really, really helps. And building a podcast audience in this very crowded space is no joke. So just know one little like, one subscribe, one little thing helps me and then helps me help organizations like ShelterBox. So in advance, I say thank you so much for all your support. You've been listening to Call Me Friend. Executive producers for this show are Callan Kagan and me, Daryn Kagan. Could not do this show without my great team. Produce Your Podcast and Journeyist Inc. Production by Abe Fallick, Tammy Gagno, and Rob Paw.
Before you go, Call Me Friend is more than a podcast, it's a community. So head over to callmefriendpodcast.com to join the conversation. Or you can call or send a text to 912-766-0446, and you can leave Daryn a message there, or maybe even share a story of your own. Because when life gets real, you don't have to go it alone. Call a friend. Call this friend.